Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is Two Way Tonight. I love the two-way community. So interactive, so eager to share their views, sometimes without peace, love, and understanding. And I get a lot of emails from you all that subject line, you're wrong, right? All the time. You're wrong about Mondami, you're wrong about Trump, you're wrong about all manner of things. And I read them and I think in a very open-minded, maybe I was wrong, I think. So today I got one that said, you're wrong. It was not from someone I know. And and I thought, well, I wonder what I was wrong about. I don't feel I was all that wrong today. So if you saw the morning meeting, you saw that we talked about the weight loss injectables. And the president announced today they're making them more affordable. And Sean said, this is so great. This is like Maha at its best, and lowering drug prices, good for health, good for cost, right? It's a twofer, Maha and affordability. And I said, based on my personal experience with friends, I don't use those drugs, just to be clear. And I'm telling the truth because I'm pretty fat. If I were using them, I'd be thinner. And I said, my friends who've taken them, horrible experiences. Their skin is like saggy, digestive issues, all sorts of problems with them. And so I just said, I just don't think they've been sufficiently tested to warrant like so many people using them. And if the price goes down, more people are going to use them. And so that's what this person said I was wrong about. They said, Mark, you're wrong. Here's my experience. Now, so here I am to correct the record to start the show. I'm not saying the drugs don't work for anybody. Many people have used them successfully and they're very popular. I'm just saying I'm not a big fan of them based on what I've heard from my friends. Thank you for your attention to that matter. Two-way tonight, this evening, we're going to cover the shutdown. A lot going on with the shutdown. Beverly Hallberg's here, Republican strategist, media genius, and Jim Kennedy, longtime Democratic strategist and comms person who has strong feelings about the new mayor of New York City, which is a great topic I'm so interested in, and particularly his relationship with President Trump. I just couldn't be more interested in it. I devoted part of my reported monologue on Next Up to thinking about their relationship. Here, the lights are going off. I'm in a room with motion activated lights. Anyway, our guests will be here in a minute. We'll talk about the shutdown. We'll talk about the president and Mr. Mondani. Newt Gingrich had some things to say today about affordability. We'll talk about that. Let me just look here at my list here. Shutdown, shutdown. Oh, Nancy Pelosi's retirement. Lots of reaction from people. And she announced she's going to not run for re-election. Widely expected, but still, widely discussed. You won't believe, by which I mean you will believe what Donald Trump said about her on the occasion of her retirement. Spoiler alert, he's as upset about his retirement as he apparently was about the death of Dick Cheney. So you'll see what he said there. And there's the GLP-1 announcement. Tucker Carlson back in the news. Lots going on at the Heritage Foundation, which is an inside story for some and not for others. And the mayor of DC is being investigated. Oh, and Elon Musk, massive pay package from Tesla. So in a moment, our guests will be here. We'll talk about all those stories and more. And of course, your participation. If you're here on the two-way platform, you want to be involved in the conversation, a conversation like no other, in large part because of you, please raise your hand. And if you're watching on X or on YouTube, don't put smack in the chat. If you want to go in the chat and criticize my view of various narcotics and drugs and the FDA, feel free, but without smack. Peace, love, understanding, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And first, a word from one of our sponsors. Our friends at Cozy Earth are having a crazy sale. Like if you're from New York City and you're familiar with Crazy Eddie, price is so low, they're crazy. 40% off on all Cozy Earth products site-wide using the promo code two-way. Go to cozyearth.com, promo code two-way. Black Friday comes early to those who want blankets, towels, shirts, pants, anything they sell on the Cozy Earth site right now. Viscose made from bamboo, extraordinarily comfortable, temperature regulating. This includes, you might think, well, surely the bubble cuddle blanket is not 40% off. That'd be crazy for them to make that 40% off. Yes, even the bubble cuddle blanket, 40% off. My towel's on order, looking for them to arrive. But I got everything else. I recommend you go right now to cozyearth.com. Promo code two-way for 40% off site-wide. This sale will not last forever. So if you got to do some holiday shopping for folks, I recommend you go now. Wrap the ones you love in luxury with Cozy Earth, cozyearth.com, promo code two-way. All right, here are our great guests. Beverly Hallberg is a Republican strategist who's generous enough with her time that she's been here, I'd say many times before. Beverly, welcome and thank you for being here. And Jim Kennedy is a staunch member of the two-way community. I beg him to come on with regularity. He's got a wonderful Substack, in which he recently wrote about the mayor of New York City, the mayor-elect, and he was nice enough to come on and talk about that and everything else. Couldn't be happier to have you both here. My first question, of course, do you two know each other?
We have not met.
Okay,
First
well,
time.
you're both very nice, very smart people who believe in America, so you'll have lots to discuss. Jim, how'd you spend election night?
Election night, I was kind of wedded to the news as it came out. I wasn't particularly surprised by it. I did spend some time with the New York Post and the two-way live broadcast. It was probably the most up to date and interesting of the evening. But it seemed like there was no cliffhangers or no surprises as the evening wore on.
Yeah, did you have any beverages that night?
No, I did not. It's a Tuesday.
Tuesday night. Jim used to work for News Corp, so of course, a big fan of a partnership with the New York Post, as am I. Beverly, how did you spend election night?
Well, just of course following two-way, so seeing your coverage of it. I've also been on X and seen the comments, but like you all were saying, it was decided pretty quickly, so it wasn't one of those long election nights. I got to bed at a decent time and then just followed up on everything the next day.
Got it. Well, I couldn't be more grateful to have you both here and look forward to running through the news with you. And again, if you'd like to ask our guests a question later in the program, please raise your hand. All right. Shutdown is got most of the news today. Continues to be kind of two tracks. Some people saying that we're headed towards a solution pretty soon, as soon as tomorrow, and other people saying no, anything that happens that you might think would lead to a resolution just causes both sides to dig in. So let's run through it. Number one, please. Headline from the Politico: Senate will vote Friday on shutdown ending deal. A little misleading because they're basically just voting so far on the same deal that's been on the table that Democrats have rejected. John Thune tells Republicans again, Senate will vote Friday to advance shutdown ending deal. Subhead: the GOP leader believes the deal will win support of enough Democrats to advance, though the outcome is not guaranteed. So there may be some tweaks here, but it's not a sure thing. Another development today on the SNAP benefits. Number two, again, I don't know which way this cuts. Makes it more or less likely the shutdown will end. Wall Street Journal: Trump administration must fully fund SNAP benefits for November. Judge rules. Order directs the government to deliver the money by Friday for federal food assistance benefits that have been delayed by the shutdown. More flight delays, more flight cancellations. People think that's a big pressure. Here's an analyst who's interested in the question of the shutdown. This would be John Trump in the Oval Office today, number 3.
It's time for them to end the filibuster and just put everybody back to work. Vote in voter ID, vote in no mail-in voting except for military, faraway military, and people that are very sick. I'd like to see one-day voting. I'd like to see not 65 days of voting from all over the place. No, I'd like to clean up the elections. The border, we've done a great job. We have a great, strong border now, but I'd like to see new rules on immigration that can be fair and good, but rules that you'll never get, rules that they're never going to get. There's so many things we could put in, including tax cuts that we could get, and we could do it all ourselves. But to do that, you have to end the filibuster. The filibuster is, and they'll do it too. They'll immediately do it. What they're going to do is, what the Democrats will do is they're going to make Puerto Rico a state. They're going to make D.C. a state. They're going to pack the court. They're going to end up with more electoral votes. They're going to end up with 4 senators because of the 2 states. And they're going to do this 100%. They would have done it except Manchin and Sinema got in their way. They would have done it. So if they're going to do it, I would do it. I would do it before them.
I can say if the president's solution to ending the shutdown is to convince John Thune and Senate Republicans to end the filibuster, this thing will go on forever. Here is Amy Klobuchar, Democrat senator from Minnesota, criticizing the president for what she says is a callous denial of SNAP benefits. Number 6, please.
That is why it is so callous that the administration, when they know they can transfer funds from anywhere to pay for SNAP, has decided that they're going to take on this fight. So why not give trillions of dollars to wealthy people and then tell people they're not going to be able to get their groceries? First they said, well, we're not going to do it. Then the court stepped in, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, said, yeah, you are going to do it. The law says you have to, at the very least, use this contingency fund for $5 billion that's sitting there. And now you're not going to use it for a golden bathroom in the White House, and you're not going to use it for a ballroom, and you're not going to use it for anything else that you think is your vanity project of the day. You're going to use it to help people afford food. That order came out. They also said, and guess what? You can also transfer funds from other places to be able to help pay.
We got the point there. Let's talk about John Thune and his view of where we stand on the shutdown. This would be number 7, please.
What more needs to happen for the far left to be satisfied? The pain this shutdown has caused is only getting worse. 40 million Americans who rely on food assistance programs are now at risk of going hungry without a resolution to the shutdown. I'm sure these Americans are doing everything in their power to feed their families, but they can't do that forever. Federal workers have now gone without pay for more than a month, including the people in this building. Will the far left not be satisfied until federal workers and military families are getting their Thanksgiving dinner from a food bank? Because that's where we're headed.
Okay. With that wind up, Beverly, tell us where you think the shutdown is and where it might be going.
Well, let me first start by saying the filibuster is not going anywhere. I know the president continues to talk about this, and he goes back and forth. I heard him on an interview with Bret Baier, I think it was yesterday or the day before, where he said these Republicans don't seem to want to do it, and that is the case. The filibuster is not going anywhere, but he seems to keep pushing on this point, and I think that's a dead issue. Now, as far as whether or not the shutdown is going to end, my feeling is the Democrats are going to cave before Thanksgiving. When exactly, I don't know, but I think especially as we're seeing flights canceled, flight delays leading up into the busiest travel day of the year, that pressure is going to be there. And here's what Republicans have. They're showing up to vote, and they are voting to fund the government. It's the Democrats who are not. So that's what they have in their back pocket. And so far, polling isn't making this the Republicans' sole problem. People are looking to Democrats. So I don't think Republicans are budging. It's up to the Democrats to actually vote. And I think a few may come over and push this over the finish line.
Jim, what are your thoughts on what Beverly said and overall?
Well, first of all, I agree with Beverly on the filibuster. That's a non-starter. I think it's a mixed bag in terms of who people blame. It certainly didn't hurt Democrats on election day that there's been a shutdown. And the underlying issues are sort of abstract or complicated for most people to grasp. But it is going to hit home, both in terms of food benefits and particularly with airline travel. My daughter's coming home for Thanksgiving, and I'm worried about her flight getting canceled. And that's, if you translate that by millions of people around the country, that's a real issue for both parties. So I do think there'll be a resolution before Thanksgiving. I certainly hope so.
Okay. Let's switch to a few more topics. Again, if you want to get in the conversation, please raise your hand. First of all, let's talk about the mayor of New York City. Lots of very raw feelings today, even as both Donald Trump and the mayor-elect have had some moments of conciliation towards each other. A lot of negativity I've heard from both regular folks, everyday Americans, but also from some Republican officials and some Democrats who are concerned about Mr. Mamdani's election night speech and some of the other things he said since then. At the same time, Jamie Dimon, Bill Ackman, others have reached out. And of course, most politicians, not all in the Democratic Party, have accepted his victory and support him. Jim Kennedy, tell everybody where they can read your Substack, what you wrote, and how you feel things are shaping up, given your concerns.
Well, I think both parties have a personality problem. Republicans are asking, what are we going to do without Donald Trump? And Democrats are asking, what are we going to do with Zoran Mamdani? Because he poses some risk of becoming the Jeremy Corbyn of American politics. And we saw what happened to the Labour Party in the UK with Corbyn's extremist policies. And if that gets translated into reality here in America, that's going to be a problem for the Democratic Party. And certainly that's what Republicans are going to try to do, is to kind of make Democrats Mamdani Democrats. So I'm of an age when we were accused of being McGovern Democrats, which used to be a dirty phrase back then, even though he inspired me to get into politics. So I think they're going to try to do the same thing in the 2020s with Mamdani.
Tell everybody about your Substack. Where can they read it?
It's called Kennedy Can'ts. It's on Substack, and the latest one is called Havana on the Hudson, which is what I fear will happen if Mamdani executes his policies. He may not be able to accomplish what he wants to do, but if he does, it's going to be a socialist nightmare, not a socialist dream.
Beverly, what are your thoughts about kind of the darker strands of those reacting the way some are, like Jim, deep concerns, versus those who say, well, let's give him a try, give him a chance?
I think there's a reason for deep concern based on his policies. And I did think that his acceptance speech was the most interesting, because prior to the election, even about a week or two before, and I know was on this program talking about it, he seemed to be more conciliatory towards Trump voters, or at least voters who wouldn't support him. He wasn't insulting them in the same way. And then once he won, he came out guns a-blazing with his own policies in that speech. So it seemed that some of the moderating he had been doing went away, which then points to he is not going to hold back as mayor. And so for Democrats, that does bring up a concern, which is where does that leave the middle road, the moderate Democrat, in comparison to a socialist? And for Republicans, I think the hope would be, while you don't want New York to go the way of socialism, you hope that this experiment points out why it doesn't work, and that it actually will be something that Republicans will run against in midterms next year if there's enough proof at that point that this is not the way that you help people. There is no such thing as free, and these policies don't work.
Yeah, Jim, was the Democratic nominee. He's now been elected by a majority of the people of a very democratic city. And I've been struck by the relative silence, not of everybody in the party, but a lot of people who, privately are concerned not just about the politics of this for the party, as you said, but are concerned about his positions, not just on socialist economics, but on Israel and Gaza. I was thinking today, when I was knowing you were coming on, what would Joe Lieberman be saying at this point, and how different would that be from what we're hearing from a lot of Democrats who, again, you and I know are not happy with this, but somebody like Bill Clinton, who you also worked for, in addition to working for Senator Lieberman. Bill Clinton has praised Mamdani and been supportive, when I just know he certainly would have at least some reservations. So how do you feel about the absence of someone like what I believe Senator Lieberman would be saying?
I'm confident Joe Lieberman would have spoken out about Mamdani's policies, both his economic policies as well as his position on Israel. His son has carried forth that legacy and has spoken out about it. And people like Tom Suozzi and Josh Gottheimer, I worked with Josh in the White House. They're members of Congress, and they've been vocal about it. But you're right, there aren't that many speaking like that. And I think once he begins to govern, you may see more of that happening, because I do think it's a concern. We don't want to get branded with those kind of policies. So I do hope, if he does try to carry them out, that there's more outspokenness on the part of the Democrats. In the 90s, we had the DLC was formed in order to kind of react to the liberal policies of the 80s. That was very effective in bringing Bill Clinton to the White House. I don't know if we're going to be able to marshal that kind of effort in this era or not, but it may become necessary if we're going to win the White House again.
Beverly, Kristen Davidson on Next Up said she was concerned that Republicans not overplay this and just talk about Mamdani to the exclusion of other things. How do you feel about that? Is this something where regular voters may not care nearly as much as Mike Johnson and Donald Trump seem to think they will?
I think it's chalked up to it's New York City for the rest of America, and that's what they look at it as. Now, the narrative that I've been seeing talked about a lot, Twitter, there's been a lot of action on this side, and that was looking at the women vote, the female vote from Mamdani, which I think it was 92% of women ages 24 to 39 or somewhere in that range. And so there's been a huge discussion among Republicans about the female vote. They've gone for the male vote during the Trump years, and how are they going to win back the women? So that is where I see the Republicans going back and forth the most on what is that messaging moving forward.
Interesting. All right. One thing that surprised me a little bit in reaction to the results on Tuesday, with a particular focus on the governor's races in New Jersey and in Virginia, is very few Republicans or conservative analysts are trying to spin the outcome. Normally they'd say more aggressively. Some have, but very few have said, blue states, expected results, who cares about the margins? In fact, people like Karl Rove, people like Steve Bannon, have been very forthright in saying this is a big problem. Even the president kind of said it. Here's Newt Gingrich today on Fox Business talking about his view of what went wrong and the importance of talking about affordability.
This affordability issue, because I think probably I disagree with you a little bit, Larry. I think you have a reality problem here, not a messaging problem. I think when you have 20% increase in the price of electricity in New Jersey, when the average family health insurance plan is now $27,000 a year, basically the equivalent of buying a small car every year. I think when housing costs, a lot of them caused by big government socialism, but when housing costs rise to a point where young people can't buy a house, you have a real sense from the American people. And I've always opposed efforts to tell the American people that they're stupid about what they feel. The job of the politician is to listen and learn and then try to help people, and then they get to lead. And the American people have been saying very clearly for about 5 years now that they're unhappy with the economy, that they can't afford things, and that they're very worried about what's going to happen. Republicans have to come up with a series of strategies. For example, Secretary of Treasury has said that he thinks he has a housing strategy. Well, they better roll it out. We have an opportunity, I think, with transparency and health costs to dramatically lower the cost of health care. We'd better roll it out. I think every time you turn around, you have to find real solutions. And then I think you can build a message. But the message has to be based on reality. And the reality was Republicans weren't focused on the economy. They didn't have solutions. And they allowed the Democrats to dominate. As James Carville said in 1992, it's the economy, stupid. Well, guess what? In 2026, it's going to be the economy, stupid.
Yeah, for sure.
And Republicans ought to focus on having the great answers and then winning the argument over those answers.
Well,
Jim, my guess is you agree with most of that, or maybe all of it. Thoughts on what the speaker said?
Yeah, I do. And Donald Trump risks sounding like Joe Biden if he keeps trying to say that he's defeated inflation. People aren't feeling it yet. He really needs to pivot, and I think he will pivot. He's a pretty smart politician, obviously, and focus on what more needs to be done. And so, because the economy remains a huge issue, and if it doesn't get better, the midterms are going to be ugly for Republicans. Now, there is time for things to turn around. Perhaps we'll talk later about the weight loss drugs. That's an example of cutting prescription drug costs. That's important. That could play a role here. The tariffs, on the other hand, have been a problem, and inflation is still sticky, and people are not feeling better yet. And so that's really got to be the focus of both parties. Really have to focus on the economy with practical ideas.
Beverly, everybody's now saying, even the White House top political official, the deputy chief of staff, James Blair, they're criticizing these Republican candidates for not running on the economy. Shouldn't they maybe called them 5 months ago and said, you guys should run on the economy? Or shouldn't the people running those campaigns, like, how could that be something? It's kind of like a no-brainer, isn't it?
Right. It does come down to the economy. And I even like the word that's being used more and more. It's good for messaging, that is affordability. Now, for President Trump, something that he has been harping on for a while are the interest rates. We all know he cannot stand Jerome Powell and can't wait to get him out at the end of the year and put somebody new in. So I think the housing market is a big part of this. But I think what was most surprising about the results was the Jay Jones win. With the amount of issues he had in that campaign, for him to still win, that part to me was shocking. And here's what I thought about in reference to Virginia. I know Republicans, some are saying it's a deep blue state. It hasn't been a deep blue state. It's been a purple state that goes back and forth. But think about the shutdown. Think about DOGE. You're talking about government employees that live in Northern Virginia. And so I'm wondering how much the shutdown may have impacted that specific state because of so many federal employees. So I think there's a lot at play, but it really does come down to affordability, and things have not dropped in price enough.
Right. All right. A few more topics and then to your question. So please raise your hand if you want to get in on the conversation with Beverly and with Jim Kennedy. Either of you ELO fans, Electric Light Orchestra? Either of you like Electric Light Orchestra? Beverly's too young. Jim, of course, and I are huge. Jim, what would you say? Say again?
Jeff Lynne was great.
Jeff Lynne was great. What would be like your favorite Electric Light Orchestra song?
Well, now you're testing me. Yeah. I like his work with the Traveling Wilburys. Actually.
Yeah, also good with there. Anyway, you got Telephone Line, you got Mr. Blue Sky, you got there's a bunch of great songs. Donald Trump apparently prefers a different Electric Light Orchestra song. This would be number 8, Sam. He makes an obvious ELO reference in referring to Nancy Pelosi as an evil woman. Number 8, please.
She's an evil woman. I'm glad she's retiring. I think she did the country a great service by retiring. I think she was a tremendous liability for the country.
And on Dick Cheney?
I thought she was an evil woman who did a poor job, who cost the country a lot in damages and in reputation. I thought she was terrible.
Yeah, I didn't read the chat, but I glanced at it. Yes, Living Thing is also an excellent ELO song. Just so you know, don't think that all people who've been president of the United States think she's an evil woman. Here's Barack Obama's tweet, number 9, correctly pointing out that if it were not for her, his signature legislative act, the Affordable Care Act, would not have passed. Posted a picture of them hanging. In almost 4 decades, Nancy Pelosi served the American people and worked to make our country better. No one is more skilled at bringing people together and getting legislation passed, and then the Affordable Care Act. All right. Let's go through a couple more things. As Jim mentioned, as I mentioned, the president today in the Oval Office announced that Medicare will cover these GLP-1 injectables, which, when they work, allow people to lose weight with all sorts of health benefits, not just being able to buy 32-inch waist pants or whatever it is they slim down to. Here's the president in the Oval making the announcement, number 11, please.
Significantly, Medicare and Medicaid will finally cover the cost of these weight loss drugs for millions of patients suffering from obesity. Co-pays for Medicare patients will be as low as $50. This is tremendous savings. I mean, now you're talking about from $1,350 to $50. This is tremendous news for the American seniors. And you all remember when I had 1/8 of 1% for the year. I cut it 1/8, and I was so thrilled. But now we're cutting it 1,000%, 1,200%. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. Nobody else could have done it, but I say that modestly.
Thoughts on that, Beverly? Thoughts on this announcement as a cost affordability issue?
Is just modest right there. He's been talking about this for a while, so I think for him this is good. There's so many people that are using this drug. I'm with you, Mark. I've heard a lot of horror stories. I haven't used it myself. My one positive caveat, my dad uses it. I hope he's not mad that I'm sharing that. Yeah. But it's been very successful for him. But I know people like hair falling out, a lot of issues with using it. So take that for what you will, right? To try is my perspective. Yeah. But this is a dramatic decrease. And one of the things that he did say is that this used to be just a drug for the wealthy, and now it's for everyone. Yeah. I think this is a benefit to him and polling and people who do struggle with obesity, which is a very common problem. And so I think it's a win for him. I don't see any negative side from a public perception standpoint.
Jim Kennedy.
Yeah, Mark, unlike you, Mark, I am a user, and I'm a shadow of my former self, thankfully. And I think it's a real boon for people to broaden exposure to this to millions of people who need it. I think it's going to help both the health of Americans and the economy and a lot of other things, healthcare costs. It helps against heart disease and diabetes and I think other factors as well. So I think it's a real win-win situation. I know Sean Spicer this morning was talking about how they got to keep echoing this result because I think it's a big deal. I had started on Ozempic and then my insurance company stopped covering it, and so the cost was going to jump over $1,000 a month. So I switched to one that remained covered, but for a lot of people have no access to it. So I think this is great.
Well, your hair looks great, so obviously your hair's not falling out.
There's a different drug responsible for that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you look great, and I'm happy for you. And again, I'm happy for people it works for, and I'm always happy when things that people need, they can afford, and not just for the wealthy. As Beverly and I have both experienced, there's just a lot of people who've got side effects that make me a little nervous. There was an episode of The Simpsons in the future where there were a bunch of people walking around like aliens, and their eyes were soldered shut. And someone said, I can't remember the whole thing, but somebody said, and this is like 50 years in the future, and someone said, what happened to them? And they said, well, they had LASIK surgery. It turned out that it soldered your eyes shut. So I haven't had that either. All right. In a moment, we'll go to your questions. If you want to be in on the conversation, please raise your hand. Just a quick word from a sponsor, and then we'll go right to you all, folks. Another sponsor, one of our regulars, the folks at TakeLean.com, offering you 20% off on the site using the promo code 2-way. Avoid fad diets. They've got a different way than these injectables to keep you from weight cycling, losing and gaining weight. If you do that up and down, cycle up and down, puts some tremendous strain on your body, on your organs, and can lead to serious health issues. The folks at Take Lean, doctors there, have developed an oral supplement, helps you maintain healthy blood sugar, control appetite and cravings, and burns fat by converting it to energy. So if you want another way, maybe less fashionable than some, but used by many, try Take Lean. Go to takelean.com, use the promo code two-way, make it part of your diet and exercise lifestyle, allow you to lose weight at a healthy pace. Again, 20% off everything on the site. Go to takelean.com, promo code two-way for 20% off. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And let's go to folks with questions or comments. We start with George. George, welcome in. Thanks for being part of the two-way. See your briefing today. So that's a good background. George, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind for Beverly and for Jim.
I live in Cary, North Carolina, right by the RDU airport. But I'm a transplant from the Meadowlands area in New Jersey. I've only been on twice, Mark, and both times I came on, both my kids said, "Dad, don't go on again. I don't want you to lose your job." And I don't say anything outrageous, but that's still the if you're right side, you say something, people are worried about the pushback at work. But I'm wearing a fairway green too tonight.
Yeah, you are wearing fairway green. That's nice. That's what does it say on your sleeve there?
Right. So I got the whole thing going, and I will tell you, you are right. I am a 14.5 handicap golfer. I am 5 strokes better since I wear this. I sleep in it at night. I look taller and thinner, like I've been working out. I will tell you, is that at Cozy Earth, though, I wear a 36 inseam. They only have a 34 inseam. So I've written to them. I'm trying to get a 36 inseam pant for those guys, but we'll see what we can do.
George, you cut out a second. Thank you for that. What's on your sleeve? What does it say on the sleeve?
Don't put smack
in the chat.
It's on the
other side. No, it's on the other side. And just to be clear, are you really a golfer? Because I know some of the stuff you said was
no. I do golf.
You do golf. And how comfortable is the fairway and green stuff compared to other golf apparel?
No, Sean said it this morning. It is. I hate to overuse it. It's luxurious. It is. Yeah. I own a lot of golf stuff. This is the best made stuff. I would pay 20% more for it.
Yeah.
That good.
It's just so well made. Just like when you pick it up, not just soft and comfortable, but you just can feel it's like a work of art.
Oh, it's quality. Right? So when you put it on, so I'm 6'7", and so I get the extra large. Most things don't fit off the rack.
Yeah,
it fits beautifully. So I've got this.
Is that what else? You gonna give it for holiday gifts too?
Oh, absolutely. I got my son. I hope he's not watching. But yeah, so I've got my son a couple of the pullovers because, like I said, I live in North Carolina. We play a lot of fall and winter golf. So he's although he hates. I wore it today when I took him to lunch. He's like, "Dad, no smack in the chat. What are you doing?"
Yeah, I appreciate all that. And again, I just want to let everybody know they are a sponsor, but it's great. It's just such great stuff.
No kidding. It is the most quality golf apparel I've ever bought, and I never heard them before until you guys came up.
Yeah, we're trying to spread the word because a lot of people hadn't heard of them, and they're great. Thank you for all that, George. It saved me the time from doing the promo myself. What's on your mind for Beverly and for Jim?
I had a couple things, but when you just brought up, I happen to work in the pharmaceutical industry, and I will tell you, the people that overlook the pharmacy benefit managers, they are the ultimate middleman. If there's a target on something that should be targeted, it's them, because they limit prescribers from what they can prescribe. Because these people say, well, listen, we go to a company, or a health plan, we'll save you a couple million by just limiting what you can prescribe. So my focus, if I were a politician, is look at pharmacy benefit managers, because they take a piece of everything and they don't do anything. There's analysis and spreadsheets, but heck, I could do that from my house. So if anyone wants to give me a shot. But I was listening this morning, and what Beverly said before was about the filibuster, and it's a no-go. I really do believe at some point, if the Democrats would get back in, they're gonna just do away with it. And I heard the conversation back and forth this morning, like stop it here, start it there. I don't know, but I would love to see the president just push through his policies, codify them to law, see how it goes, and someone else come around and turn it around if they get a majority and do that. I think that would be great. But my second thing is just watching, and I grew up in New Jersey, so it broke my heart when the Republican candidate lost by the margin he did. But I get it. how long would it be before impeachment would start? Would it be like the day after they're sworn in, they're going to impeach President Trump again? Or do you think that's gone by the wayside where it's like, this doesn't work, let's just try to work with this guy? Or is there so much hate and derangement that you just can't do it and we're going to impeach him on day one? I mean,
all right. So two questions there: the filibuster again, and then impeachment. And I'll just say, in teeing up the second one, I've been wondering if House candidates are going to run pledging, in primaries in particular, pledging that they'd support impeachment the minute they got there. Jim, thoughts on George's two topics?
Well, I dealt with an impeachment from the other side in the Clinton era. I'm not in favor of impeachment for either party unless it's really, really egregious, and I don't think it's risen to that level. So I think it would be a mistake for Democrats to try to do that again if they take the majority, and I hope they don't do that. And the Democrats generally need to get over their obsession with Trump. He's not going to be on the ballot. I think his name certainly did indirectly hurt them this year, but going forward, they need to have their own agenda. They need to have a positive vision for America, and that's going to be critical. So I think it would be a mistake. On the other hand, there are going to be some people who do promise to do it, and unfortunately, it may happen.
Beverly.
Well, first of all, George, I think you earned some free merch with all of that discussion about what you're wearing. So Mark, just want to push you to send him something free.
Noted.
I think you earned it. On impeachment, I completely agree. I don't think it's a wise move for Democrats. I'm not saying they won't do it, but all you have to look at indictments, past impeachments. President Trump gets more popular, and it's not because, well, we'll see if there will be a third term if they try to change the Constitution, which of course I don't agree with, but he's not going to be running next time as things stand right now. So I don't think it benefits Democrats at all. As far as the filibuster, if Democrats were going to do the same thing, they would have to have the votes for that. So there's that aspect. But there is a really big battle among Republicans right now, which is, do we blow up societal norms to get what we want in the short term? I'm always for long term and for principles and the fundamentals. And I like gridlock in Congress. It's there for a reason. And even if there are things I would like to get passed, I worry about what can happen if we break down those barriers that make things hard to get through Congress.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. The one thing I thought about, even when Trump did all the troops to the cities to reduce crime, while it's been effective, I just harken back to a few years ago. If the Democrats would have had the same fortitude to, like, not only did they mandate vaccines, what if they show up in your town and say, hey, we're going to get your vaccine today, you're never going to leave your house again. And that does, so I have a longer view too. It just frightens me that once you break precedents, that those things can and will happen, because they did it, now we're going to do this. And that really makes me nervous, because there's probably going to be another COVID at some point. But that whole experience, although it was almost like a bad dream, it wasn't that long ago. But I'm not very forgiving over. I tell you what, I stopped shopping I live in Cary, so I've got a Costco in Raleigh, and I've got a Costco in a town called Apex. Raleigh had their mask mandate on for a year longer than the Apex. I never go back to the Raleigh store, and it's just that simple, because I felt like it was ridiculous and really against. It was over, right? It was just over, and it just really made me angry. But I'm fearful of anybody that feels they can have absolute power. But then now if you look at the tariff situation too, and we talked about if Congress would step in and do their role, will they? I mean, I don't think they have any. There's no thought with, and most of them aren't business people. I just worry about you just can't give everything to Congress, but you also can't overstep the bounds of the Constitution.
Yeah.
But I do think about that too. I don't think anything would get done if we just let Congress do it, because they're happy to blame each other and do nothing and stay home and get paid, while millions of Americans aren't getting paid, and people are going to lose their food stamps. It's just crazy.
Yeah, George, thank you. We appreciate all that, and tell your kids you did a great job. And grateful.
Thank you. I won't get fired. I promise.
Yeah,
the free merch is always welcome, Mark.
Grateful to you for that. Thank you, sir. We'll get on it. All right. Great questions and spectacular answers. So Jacqueline, welcome in. Unmute. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind for Jim and for Beverly.
I'm in San Diego, and I'm wondering if the new court order today on SNAP benefits will be enforced, or if there's just no way to make sure it's enforced.
Yeah, it's a great question, because these district courts, can't necessarily do anything if there's an appeal. Jim, thoughts on all the court decisions on this?
I think the Trump administration has generally, followed Supreme Court rulings thus far. They certainly have a problem with lower court rulings, and ultimately, though, they basically have followed whatever the Supreme Court decides on issues. So I think we shouldn't see a problem there. I just hope the whole thing gets settled otherwise with ending the shutdown, so we can kind of move beyond that problem.
Yeah, Beverly.
I completely agree. I think when you're looking at the lower courts, there's going to be one judge who makes a certain decision, but it ultimately is going to come down to when the Supreme Court steps in, what do they decide? But I do think that the shutdown is going to end soon. That is my hope. I think there's will to make that happen.
Yeah. Jacqueline, thank you. Great question and a complicated one. And I continue to say, with this president, with all the things that are going to court, I wish all the courts, and particularly the Supreme Court, would be on an expedited schedule. I know they don't want to necessarily set that precedent for them to have to move things quickly, but they're just taking too long. They're not moving at a modern speed. And I know, they got clerks and Google and Nexus, and they should move more quickly. So these things are not undecided, not because I'm impatient, because it is affecting the real lives of real people, and they're a co-equal branch. And even though the other branches don't operate at the speed of light, they're dealing with the reality of people's lives. Charles, welcome in. Thanks for being here. Unmute, tell folks where you are and what's on your mind for Beverly and for Jim.
Well, it's good to be back with you, Mark. I enjoy your program immensely.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's probably the best thing we have going as a country right now in order to be civil among one another.
Very grateful to you.
My comment really, I listen to you in the mornings especially, and I have to say I tend to agree with the thought process that maybe they all need to give up their salaries in Congress and stay around and take care of our business. After all, I believe we elected them to take care of our country and to make sure things didn't get into awry, big problems. And I was really interested in the results last night. I don't know how I feel. I'm not in New York City. I hope that as a country, we will maintain our process of following through with one another and trying to be the best we can be. I enjoy all of your guests. I just really appreciate you, and I hope that we can get more people interested in two-way.
Thank you. Thank you, Charles. Very grateful to you. Beverly, I've been surprised. There's not like there's no populist anger at Congress not doing its job in a bipartisan way, but I've been surprised at how little there's been. I thought there would be a lot more, basically just like you all shouldn't be getting paid if you're not doing your job. Do you think there's been more of it than I'm saying, or are you also struck by how relatively little there is?
I'll see some of it on X, but I will say where I've heard that the most has been on your program, where people will ask why is Congress still getting paid if this isn't being pushed through? So I hear it from your listeners the most. I've wondered if there hasn't been the political will by journalists to cover it as thoroughly as they should for the reasons that they have their own biases. So that's one of the things that I wonder about the news media on this.
Yeah. Jim, it seems to me this is tailor-made for the moment we're in. If you're a Sanders supporter or MAGA or just anyone with any sensibility about Washington that's negative, that there should be more pressure. And Beverly's right. People say it on this platform all the time, but I don't see that reflected very much in the media.
Yeah, I don't. I think, and among the general population, I think there's a combination of fatigue and apathy. People have kind of been beaten down for so long by the partisanship that they've kind of like thrown up their hands and given up, which is unfortunate. Apathy is not a healthy ingredient for a healthy democracy. One thing I wanted to note is in sort of the semi-breaking news category, Elise Stefanik may be announcing for governor of New York.
Yep.
Friday. Let's watch what her message is. I think you will see her maybe talking about socialism and the problems of it, but also talking very constructively, I would guess, about the economy and job creation in New York. And that'll be kind of a harbinger for what I think we can expect from politicians in the coming year. So she's a very smart and able politician. So I'll be very interested to see how she crafts that message.
Yeah, I totally agree. And thank you for bringing it up. It broke just a little before we went on the air. Interesting because she endorsed Mondami and appeared at a rally with him, and then got sort of hectored, and he came out to kind of rescue her. And then when he was asked in the debate if he was endorsing Governor Hochul for re-election, he said, "Well, I'm going to wait till after the election." I wonder now how that's going to play out, particularly because, Jim, you're right. Of course, Elise Stefanik will make her ties to Mondami a huge part of her campaign, and I wonder if she'll accept his endorsement, if she'll want his endorsement, because he's the Democratic mayor of New York City, but he's also the socialist mayor of New York City.
Yeah,
Beverly, go ahead, Jim.
I was just going to say, I think he'll kind of outshine the governor, and somewhat the same way Giuliani outshined Pataki. So that dynamic may take hold.
Yeah, it's interesting. Beverly, did you know Elise Stefanik at all?
I've worked with her. I've met her personally. I think, as Jim was just saying, a really smart politician and somebody who is very savvy. I agree. It's now midterm season. We're there. So it's now about the messaging and where people are lining up on the different sides to figure out how they want to talk about issues. And when I look at the first term of Trump's presidency, I think so much about this first term was fixing the border, cutting government, but it didn't get to that affordability side of things. And of course, his tariffs that mixed in with this and that Supreme Court case on tariffs, that's going to be huge, but that's affected the affordability as well. I think he's really going to have to stop kind of the busting up things and start building it back. And the tariff battle, that needs to be seamless so that people have certainty in the economy.
Yeah. Really well said. One more sponsor, and then if you got a question here, please raise your hand. Another story I want to get to as well that we'll do in just a moment. But again, if you're here on the platform, you want to get in a question, please raise your hand. Last sponsor of the night, our friends at Cornbread Hemp, cornbreadhemp.com/2way, 30% off your first order. Go to cornbreadhemp.com/2way. If your life's a little bit crazy these days and you're looking for a way to unwind, for many people, the solution are the CBD gummies from Cornbread Hemp. They're formulated to work with your body and not against it. If you've tried other things for relaxation and you haven't tried this, give it a try. They're made to make you feel better, whether it's stress or discomfort or you just need a little relaxation. They're made from the best part of the hemp plant. That's the flower, for the purest and most potent CBD, lab tested by third parties, USDA organic, for safety and for purity. Right now, members of our community can save 30% on their first order. Go to cornbreadhemp.com/2way. Use the code 2way at checkout. cornbreadhemp.com/2way. Use the code 2way for 30% off. And if they ask, tell them George's kids sent you. How about that? Yeah, there you go. All right, Wallace, welcome in. Thank you for being part of 2way. Unmute, tell everybody where you are and what's on your mind for Beverly and for Jim.
Hi, Mark. Thanks for calling on me. I'm calling from Cala Mesa, California right now. And let me pose my question first, and then make it real quick explanation why I ask it. My question is, what checks and balances are in place for the mayor of New York? Because I don't necessarily understand how that city operates, that would keep him in check, I suppose, for some of his policies that he wants to institute that many people are fearful of. Last night, actually it was early this morning, I decided to watch Mondami's victory acceptance speech in its entirety. So I had just seen clips here and there and heard comments from people. I said I should probably watch this for myself and come to my own conclusions. And I had a lot of very mixed feelings about his speech. One was how fiery he was, and he did it in such a manner that it kind of reminded me of other political leaders that rose in other eras, that rose to be really go contrary to what they seem to be running on, which was trying to improve the lives of the regular people.
Yeah.
And he described himself. I remember he said, "I'm young, I'm a Muslim, and I'm a democratic socialist." And he said he will not apologize for any of those. And at any rate, I struck me as he reminded me of some of the speeches maybe you would think of hearing from a Hugo Chavez or a Fidel Castro. And I don't mean to compare him directly to those.
Yeah.
But and then in the end, he this I say a little bit tongue in cheek. I say, which Nazi party does Mondami belong to, or is it the same party as Elon Musk? And I say that tongue in cheek because I noted at the very end when they were playing the music and he was taking in the adoration of the crowd, he touched his chest and did an open kind of not a salute, but to the crowd, which was similar to what many people were critical of Elon Musk for that he did. So again, I'm not trying to suggest he's a Nazi, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Wallace, thank you. Before Jim responds, then Beverly, I just saw a tweet, although it happened yesterday, an exchange that I want to cite because it illustrates again how people in my professional and personal lives of good faith and good cheer and who want the best for America and this city, some of them are inspired by his election and his victory, and some are just completely horrified. So the Anti-Defamation League announced yesterday an initiative to, quote, track and monitor policies and personnel appointments of the incoming Mamdani administration and protect Jewish residents across the 5 boroughs. Unusual, right, for that to happen. Patrick Gaspard, who served in the Obama administration as ambassador to South Africa, ran the Open Society Institute for George Soros, responded to the tweet. He said, "This is gross. Trump has actual neo-Nazis who have gone through Senate approval. But this is what this organization is continuing to perpetuate after a historic night when a large percentage of Jewish New Yorkers actually supported Mamdani." Just gross. He's a very close advisor to Mamdani and brokered the phone calls between Barack Obama, his former boss, his friend, and his new friend, Mr. Mamdani. Jim Kennedy, thoughts on what Wallace asked about and about the continued tensions over this man's election?
Yeah, but part of my problem with Mamdani is that he's not been very ecumenical in his outrage about how minorities are treated around the world. He certainly has been outspoken about the treatment of Palestinians, but he has not been outspoken about the mistreatment of Christians around the world, nor certainly of Jewish people and Israelis. In contrast, my old boss, Joe Lieberman, as you know, in the 90s, fought for the protection of Muslims in the Balkans against persecution and a looming genocide in that arena. And he was ecumenical in his outrage about that kind of treatment. So I think Mamdani needs to shift there. Obviously, he's a very talented politician. He had a very effective message, and he has inspired a lot of young people, which is admirable. But I think the rubber hits the road in January 1, and that's going to be a problem. To Wallace's earlier question, he is going to be constrained both by the state government and the federal government because he's going to need to rely on both to get money and other things that he wants to get done. That could be a break on some of his ambitions.
And potentially the city council as well. They'll have 3
Yeah,
layers.
that's right. Although they do lean left, but they may not lean as left as he is. So that could
that's right.
Okay.
Beverly.
Oh, she went on.
Sorry about that, Beverly. My fault.
And Mark, if you maybe I'll interject really quick. I thought maybe some similarities between him and Trump, just simply from the standpoint of during their speech, it was rather fiery, and it seemed like they were perhaps alienating those that they may have to rely on to help govern later, which I think probably cost Trump some during his first term. And I'm wondering if Mamdani is alienating, or by his speech, some of the people he may rely on to help govern with to enact the policies he wants to enact.
Yeah,
and
Beverly.
so, and I do think he's alienating people, and I echo what Jim said. I completely agree with him. I even want to say beyond Mamdani, I think one of the reasons why Kamala Harris didn't pick Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, run with her is because of his connection to Jewish people, of course, and his support of Israel, et cetera. And so Democrats have a breakdown, but I will argue this as well. Republicans are struggling with the Israel issue. But one thing that everybody should be able to come to terms with and be on the same page is that we should treat all people with dignity and respect. So I would have loved to have heard Mamdani talk about Muslim people, but also talk about Jewish people, different groups that have been discriminated against, and put that all together. That's where you lead to a unifying message. But he definitely tended to single out Muslim people versus anyone else.
Yeah, Wallace, thank you. And I just say, I know you both know I have so much respect for you, both Beverly and Jim, but I'm so appreciative of the tone you're using in raising points of concern that you have about him, calm and reasonable and heartfelt, but not no smack. And I really do fear for the city because of the level of emotion that he's inspiring on both sides. Somebody raised today, what happens if the police accidentally kill someone or purposely kill someone in the line of duty. How's he going to handle that? Particularly if there's race involved. The city has been in the past subject to extreme tensions, including under Giuliani, where people felt he didn't handle it well. But he's so untested. And somebody said to me today, well, what's wrong with the 34-year-old mayor? And I said, nothing necessarily, but he's never managed anything like this. He's got a $1 billion budget for Homeland Security, $1 billion. And I don't know the most he's ever managed, but it's not $1 billion. It's not $500 million. It's not 1/100 of $1 billion. And it's an awesome responsibility. And again, there's so many people in the city who are not favorably disposed towards him. I just want to talk about the noon episode of Next Up, which is posted now as a podcast and on YouTube. And my guests are Kristen Davidson and Doug Sosnick. And I know both Jim and Beverly will appreciate. Those are two of the smartest people, like Jim and Beverly, just two of the smartest people about American politics. Doug has a new memo out about what you can say about the midterms and about the presidential based on what happened on Tuesday. And it was a great conversation. So if you want to hear more about the midterms and more about, we run through all the leading potential Democratic presidential candidates. And one thing that really struck me was Kristen is in that category of Republican who at the beginning of the year said, bring him on. If Gavin Newsom runs and is the Democratic nominee, we'll beat that guy easily, who now says, no, Gavin Newsom now has shown a much different potential than people thought he had. And of course, I've long told people don't underestimate him, but also still not sure he's going to run. But it's a great conversation. So if you want to hear more about particularly 2028, please go listen to Next Up or watch it. Right now, 7 o'clock, my colleague Michael Moynihan has the Australian journalist Josh Zepps on. So you can watch that stream live at 7 o'clock and be in the conversation. And then, of course, tomorrow's Friday. So an opportunity to watch the last episode of the week of the morning meeting. Sean Dan and I will have our winners and losers of the week and what to look for over the weekend. And then we'll be back to this program tomorrow night. No, am I right that this program's being done live at 5 tomorrow? Is that correct?
Yep.
I think it is. Was that my request?
Yes, it is.
Was that my request for doing it at 5?
It was Laurie's request.
Laurie's request. All right, that explains it. Because I looked at my calendar. Normally, if I have something I got to do, it's like a school event for my son. We do the show a little bit early. So it'll be on 5 o'clock if you want to join on the two-way platform. And then it'll stream on YouTube at the normal time. It's good to know that we're doing that for Laurie and not for me because I ask it a fair amount. Next week, a bunch of interesting shows coming up on the platform, which we'll tell you about shortly. And as I said, if you haven't downloaded or watched this week's episode of Next Up, please do. Beverly and Jim, couldn't be more grateful to have you on. You're spectacular on together. So I hope you'll come back and be on with us and be part of more conversations. And again, Jim, tell everybody the name of your Substack. It's Kennedy Kants, right?
Kennedy Kants, yes. It's
Kennedy Kants. Beverly, anything you want to plug?
Well, I just want to say this real quick. I have gotten so many comments when I meet somebody and they say, are you on two-way? So I've gotten that more than any program that I do, Mark, is people are watching the show. So I just wanted to share that with you.
I appreciate that. And it's because of the community, right? There's just a difference between how people watch the show and experience the show and listen to you all. And of course, it's also an hour. You know, if you go to a hit at cable news, you might talk for a few minutes, maybe. But maybe a few seconds, and here people get a chance to hear you all out and at some length and be really connected to your ideas. And of course, the other thing is these are genuine conversations, and we continue to make the bet that people want conversations like this rather than a slugfest or pure smack. And for people who want that, and we think it's the majority of the public, there's, as we say, conversations like no other. So again, couldn't be more grateful to you both and love having you on, and hope you'll come back regularly. And Jim, I hope I don't have to beg for you to come back.
No, Mark, you're the antidote to apathy in America. So let's more of that, please.
All right. Grateful to you both. Thank you all. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow on the morning meeting, and I hope you have a good evening. Good night.